Up a little later, the results of our Twitter poll. So you still got time to vote at Tony Colombo, at Mark Cox 971, at Tony Colombo 971. We'll have those results before the end of the hour. First, though, I want to welcome in St. Louis County Executive Steve Stenger. Steve, good afternoon.
Hey, Mark, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
So you've got some results from a pretty intense audit of county government.
Yeah, we started when I took office back in 1/1 of 2015. We started with a top-to-bottom audit. We basically had two phases. The first phase sort of identified major issues that we saw and found, and then the second phase was really dealing with and investigating those original issues. It was the second piece is really. Well, the first piece was a forensic audit, but the second piece was even really more forensic in that it was investigatory and really dug deep, even deeper than the first one. Reason for two phases is in the first phase, we found 155,000 exceptions across 32 categories. And exceptions are basically accounting terms for things that don't look quite right and need to be investigated further. So we found 155,000, very voluminous. And we had Brown, Smith, and Wallace do the audit, both phases, and they did a great job. And I can talk about some of the things that we found.
Let's talk.
One of the things. Yeah.
I was going to say, let's talk about some of the bigger ones. I mean, for example, the county print shop. Who knew you had one? And that saved $300,000 out of the budget?
Yes, it did. It saved $300,000 cash a year. That was a situation where we took office as a county councilman. I didn't know we had a print shop, and I became county executive. We did the audit. The audit team made us aware that we have 524 square miles in St. Louis County. We have 4,200 employees, 600 commissioners. It's a very nice sized government for 1 million people. I mean, it really has to be as large as it is. And I'm a person who likes to see efficiency and bringing those numbers down, which we are in the midst of doing as well. And one way we did that was to eliminate the print shop. Really wasn't doing any printing, and we were paying $300,000 a year for basically no printing for the county. So we scuttled it immediately, and over 10 years it'll save us about $3 million, just that alone. Tell you about another one we did. We were charged by state statute with providing residential care for our young people who are in the juvenile system.
Okay.
And we were providing that care at a facility called Lakeside. It was an older, really frankly, dilapidated in many respects building that was requiring upkeep, maintenance, and even some rehab, really. That was at $3.4 million per year. It wound up being $55,000 per kid that was going through Lakeside. And for $55,000, we both know you could have a very nice college education for these kids for a year or two in some cases. And here they're in a residential home. So we looked elsewhere. We did it. We followed an RFP process on this, and we found Mary Grove that provides excellent service throughout our community, and they had a residential facility available. So we now are going to be contracting with them as opposed to providing all this ourselves. So we're sort of shrinking government there, building efficiencies, and really providing better services for $2 million, thus saving $1.4 million per year. And take that out over 10 years, that's $14 million, and it would be in existence and will be in existence for at least 10 years. So, that's just a way to look at it.
So how much money did you weed out of this altogether?
Well, so far, we've got one more big item, and that is our jail service for food. Our jail service for food is currently being done at $2.5 million. There's a measure before the St. Louis County Council. I think it's up for final vote tonight, and that reduces that 2.5 to 1.8. That's about another $620,000, or about $6 million over 10 years. So it's another big item, and we're still closing in on even more. This was a voluminous audit. We're looking at everything that they gave us and everything that we talked about. We had multiple meetings with them, tons of communication, and it also helped us improve our processes quite a bit. And we were able to find some other instances of some things that are smaller dollar items, like we had $20 million of double payments. It turned out they're actually $11,000 in double payments, and we're going back and retrieving that money as double payments, meaning over the years, there were double payments made to vendors because in the past, prior to my administration, we had some accounting issues that didn't catch those double payments, but now they're being caught and we're actually being able to retrieve them.
That's great. So are we all getting a rebate?
Well, I'll tell you what you are going to get.
I got silence on. I'm just teasing you, of course.
Well, no, I understand. But what we are getting is a government that's going to be run much leaner. It's going to be run much more efficiently. And we've got some other things before the council that are really, really good ideas. Mark Harder, who's a councilman from the 7th District, has a bill right now that calls for more transparency in our government in general, and it's a great bill, and I hope that passes as well. So that, we've got council efforts, we've got the efforts at the executive level. We are really, frankly, we're all about fiscal responsibility and cheaper government for our taxpayers. So, and more efficient government with good services. So,
right,
what we're doing,
which doesn't hurt because you're getting ready to go to the taxpayers and ask for a tax increase, right, for the police.
Well, yeah, it's going to be a vote of the people in April, and it's a law enforcement sales tax for police and public safety. It's a half a cent, and it will allow us to do things like 2 officers to a vehicle. It'll allow us to have more officers and a greater police presence for public safety. Will allow us to get into the 21st century for some of our technology pieces that we so desperately need for our police. Right now, with the way our budget works and the things that we're struggling with, we're cutting all types of things, and we're building efficiencies where we can. But in our police department, we have difficulty providing for things like ballistic plates, vests that are required to be changed out routinely, and other equipment. And it's frankly things that are really needed for public safety, basic public safety necessities. And this vote of the people will allow us to do that if the voters are so inclined.
And we're talking to County Executive Steve Stenger. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the breakdown of that tax, a chunk of it goes to the county, but a chunk of it also goes to all the municipalities in the county as well, correct?
It does. A piece of it goes to the municipalities, and it goes by population. So we will see our larger municipalities get more than our smaller municipalities. And in our experience, and this is pursuant to a state law, so it's something that we had that was actually on the state books that we were able to pull together and present to the voters.
But it's got to be used for law enforcement. Am I correct about that?
Has to be used for police and public safety. Has to be, and it is a designated, dedicated sales tax for that purpose.
Right. Yeah, I was.
So it has to be used on that, and if it wasn't, it could be challenged, and it could be, it would be a very serious diversion of funds. So it's something that it's required to be used for that.
And somebody was drawn to my attention. I believe it might have been Rodney Boyd who'd interviewed Chief Belmar about the fact that with the change in the law and some of the municipalities losing or limiting in what they can bring in fines, that some of them had cut their police departments and were depending on St. Louis County Police to come in and provide backup, even though the county police department wasn't getting any additional revenue to provide that. So this might alleviate some of that strain.
It will, and that's one of the many things that it does. But I've talked with municipal mayors across our county about this and about the things that they want to use it for, and it's very consistent with what we're using it for. It's 2 officers to a car. It's really focused on officer safety as they keep us safe. They have the same problems we have with ballistic vests. They have the same problems that we have with modernized equipment. It's a matter of budgetary constraints. When you look at at how healthcare costs are rising, if you look at how insurance costs are rising, if you look at all the basic, and in some cases 401ks, in some cases it's pensions, all those things are costing more and more. 2/3 of our budget is personnel costs, and those are individuals who are there to serve St. Louis Countyans. But those costs all go up every year, and it really squeezes budgets. And it's really not like the government is getting any larger. In fact, in St. Louis County, it's getting smaller, as I've talked about.
Right.
But these other costs keep rising. So it really eats into what we're able to spend on public safety and what we're able to invest on public safety and in public safety. And, we need to be concerned about attracting and retaining, the best police officers that we can. And once again, those are the officers that our public is interacting with. And that's why it's important to me. And I think, I think that's why it's important to our police chief as well. He wants the best he can have, and I think we have the best in St. Louis County, and we need more of the best to serve our people.
Steve, along those lines, there's about to be an election for mayor in the city of St. Louis, and the primary usually determines who the mayor is going to be. And to a candidate, I've heard very many of them talk about needing to share resources with the county, whether that comes through a merger or the city potentially coming back into the county as a municipality. Have you seen any of these proposals? Where do you stand on that?
I haven't really seen any of the proposals, but I can talk about it as a general matter. Mark, I'm the steward of the St. Louis County taxpayers' money, and I take that very seriously. And as I'm talking to you, I'm talking about closing print shops. I'm talking about contracting out for services so we can do them more inexpensively and more efficiently. And frankly, I'm not really interested in spending our St. Louis County taxpayer money anywhere. And I think that what I am interested in, I'm interested in partnerships that make sense, where we share in the upside and we share in the downside. And those have to be evaluated very carefully to see what's in the best interest of St. Louis County taxpayers. And I haven't seen any of the proposals that these individuals want to make, but I look at it in that framework. How do we benefit? How do we provide a benefit for St. Louis County taxpayers? And and I really look at it with a real stewardship in mind. I take that very seriously. So I'm not really, looking to enter into any partnerships where we share the downside and we don't share the upside.
Sure.
So, that's what I'm looking for.
Well,
and I think that's probably what most of our taxpayers are looking for, too.
Certainly some of the concerns I've heard expressed about it, that seems to cover it. County Executive Steve Stenger, listen, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Mark. I look forward to talking with you again. Thanks
Absolutely.
a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate him giving us some time this afternoon to talk about that audit. Obviously, they want to prepare people for the possibility of approving this tax increase that would go to law enforcement, and it's dedicated to law enforcement. So we'll take your phone calls on that if you want. 314-969-9797. I also want to talk about some problems